Well, my item here is supposed, if you can imagine it, it is a reference to the very fairy tale of Hans Christian Andersen, the Emperor's New Clothes, actually. And, you have to use your imagination. But and I'm playing the small boy, but I'll be going down now. So you have to find a role for yourself. I'm discussing today this heavy question on religion and politics in Denmark. So you better look carefully to what I'm telling you and fasten your seatbelt. I'll try to rock your boat. My grandfather, he was a working man in politics, social democrat, as workers were in old days in Denmark. Today it is academics, okay? But it has been some kind of a transformation. Perhaps that's the reason why we are so poor situation. But he always told me as a little boy, 10 years old, never discuss politics or religion with anybody. Let them find their own way, don't care. Today I will discuss it, but I will discuss it another way. I will discuss the mix of these two things. I will not give you any answers where you're going to put your vote when we are going to it. It doesn't matter, so who cares? It's the same. And I have not been voting for the last 16 years, but for some EU showtime, where I gave my vote for someone who would put his money to the Polish workers, all of his benefits he got. But you have to do something good with your vote. Now, you see, the problem is, what is a God? It is a central factor in any religion. And Martin Luther, he told us 500 years ago, it was his time, a God is someone into whom you trust, into whom you seek help and protection in any poor situation. And actually, isn't it just what the welfare state is doing? Well, if you are brainy, you see my conclusion, go and have a drink. And the rest is nothing but documentation. Now, in fact, that's how it is. But of course, most of you will probably be a little bit reluctant. And if you don't see it, then later on you will have a problem finding out, so you'll be here for some days. But I hope to open your eyes. You see, drop to conclusion, it was a trick my father learned me. He was a parachuter of the 1st Airborne. We get that one, no Americans. Here today, you can see, okay. Now, it was a kind of a joke. Well, let's move on. Denmark has been in discussion because we are the most socialistic, what do you call it, welfare state in the world. So we have been discussed all around, in US, France, and everywhere, as politicians seek something new. They all fear a new breakdown after the financial collapse 10 years ago in 2008, and we still have great risk for it. I'm a stock market researcher myself, and just look to government bonds today, not the banks. That's you see where you can't sleep at night. But it's the next problem. They are looking for something new, and Denmark might be such a situation. Now I'm going to discuss it a little bit, but we are not focusing on that stuff. Politics is looting and shooting. You know, looting in time of peace, shooting in times of war. That's what it's all about. And they are making tricks of you every day to give you support. Well, that's the problem. Now I have to present myself. My name is Svenssen, and I'm a 62-year-old Danish economist, and I'm working in stock market research and general research on economics in this world, and we also integrate nowadays. Well, if you pronounce my first name, and I like to be familiar to you, no harm done. I hope you like me too. You just call me Law, because, you know, we're living in a nation, a democracy, made up by laws. Can you imagine in Denmark you have to take into account each year 200 to 240 new laws? Of course, on top of all that, you have to have some 2,000 EU regulations. Now the British don't like it. That's what they have this Brexit problem for the time being. They better find a solution. But we don't care. Now, I have if anybody, now we have this, raise your hand, I will say stand up. And if you're able now, this is, I'm asking you, I will give you a drink, just the first 20, I think. But if you're able to raise, and I can't see you, so perhaps one of our supporters will help me. Now, I have this question to you. Do you read new laws prior to the time of implementation? Are you ready Monday morning? Are you ready? Are anybody of you ready on all Danish 240 laws a year? Or are you not? Well. Are anybody, am I going to find my wallet? Or will you, perhaps you will give me a drink instead? Well, that is a poor show. You don't read laws. So you might find yourself in a prison Monday morning, or next Monday morning. It's actually a situation. And it is. It's a deep problem, and it's the largest problem I can see. How do we run a nation in another way without laws? You can't run it that way. We end up in mixed problems and scandals, and you don't know what. The politicians don't read the laws either. No, they don't. Well, so we have a problem. In fact, I have found back in the Marxist, when I was young, I was a Marxist for a week or so. Well, I found an old idea of the Marxist. It was called alienation. It means that you are pushed away from this world, put into a situation where you are in the hand of another power. And this power in Denmark is the government. We call it state in Denmark. There's a little mix here. We are today making it for export, so we will say government, not state. But every day we say the state, and state means every kind of public services you will meet. And it's a huge show. I can tell 1.2 million people are making work for public services this day. It's quite good. So we hope they do something or not use all the time for cover-ups. Well, we don't know. Well, we are living in a jungle. And now you might say, how is Denmark working out in this jungle? Here you see, this is a question, Denmark to United States. Let's make a comparison. Are we better off than the United States? You see US as a quite liberal nation, and we as a kind of social welfare nation. Well, on gross national income, it is gross domestic product, it's not that good a number, plus foreign income, so it's actually better. Well, we are 17% behind. And if you go to another place in the United States where it's nice to be, as an old song, we're going to Massachusetts, we are 25% behind. This is the situation. Well, it's not that good. Let's tell. Perhaps you could call for revaluation of the Danish crown to make it better, but it's not that good. Well, we are behind. We can't discuss it, and when there's been this discussion, they stopped fairly fast because we couldn't handle it. Well, not that good. Let's move on. We don't like poor figures. Okay. Now, if you look for growth, this is growth for 10 years, 2005 to 15. We have another problem, or perhaps it's the same problem. It's just moving on for a lot of years. We are behind US. It was a poor period for we had the financial crisis and so on. Of 1%. And actually, this number is almost zero. Well, you have to be a good statistician to see it, but they're counting everything. Crime, prostitution, everything is in. So that's how we go along. Now, you put another way too, this is just the major figures, looking on living age. And in Denmark, actually, we have a better living age than the United States. I think it must be something around the body mass index. But I don't know. But we are better off. Now you might argue it is the government who keep us alive. And most politicians say, go dying so we can get the last 15% of your money. It's the tax you pay when you die. It's a kind of tax to exit tax, you'd call it. Now, you must say that how old we will become. is actually not some kind of responsibility of the government, at least you. But if you have the idea the government handles everything, then of course it's government. Okay, you think it over. Now, we are not performing that good, but and our growth is sliding. And why is growth sliding? Well, it might happen to be taxation, because we have a huge taxation. We have a world record of taxation in Denmark. So you never make a business in Denmark. You try it, you make a pilot plan, will it go, and then you leave when it's going. Okay, that's the way to handle business. So we are happy farmers in this nation. And you might ask, how do we cope? Why do we go on pretending to be better than anybody else? We have to have world-class cancer, world-class education, world-class everything, you know. But we are not having that much world-class, I suppose. But that's just politics. Now, how do we handle it? We actually made it because we are a small nation. We are just 6 million people living on these islands. And we started out farmers and sailors. And farmers always are calm people. They don't want to make revolutions, burning their houses. No, 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 no. People in some big city might do it, not the farmers. So we are calm. We have no revolutions. We have the same storytelling in Denmark. For 200 years, schools have told the same story of Danish people being lucky farmers. Well, today we're not lucky farmers. Now we are lucky public servants. We have never been industrialized in Denmark. You know, Swedes and Germans and that kind of people with good sense for quality, they work in factories, but we didn't. We dumped it over. Now, today, we have around 40% of all working hours are made as public services, and people are actually living in big cities. And here you see how our small nation is. It is actually from the pedestrian road in Copenhagen, where you call it. It was the first one in the world, it is said, 1967. And we are just waiting. There's no cars, but we wait anyway. and you know, we were the first on pedestrian roads, and then we were the first on, you could go for bicycle paths. In New York, they made a lot of bicycle paths. That's a Danish invention. And we also go to these windmills that they buy for us and get some subsidy and pay high prices. It's also Danish invention. Now, it might be kind of old school, let's do it again, but it's a Danish invention. Now you see how strong our economy is performing and what we can give to the world. Well, it's a nice place. Okay. What has happened is, of course, that we are not living alone in this world. If it was, it would be fine. The outside very fine. We didn't have any competition. Now, the outside world is pressing us, and that has raised numerous problems. And for a lot of politics today is going for making some kind of walls, fence around us to keep our small club on its own. And it's quite difficult to do. We are being crowded out, you call it, when the private income is going down and the public sector is going up. We pay 60%, perhaps 70%, in taxes in a year. You don't imagine, but you do. Go home and find your calculator, take everything. You just made it very complicated so you can't find out. That's the only problem, and that's why we have scandals of taxation, because we can't make it simple, then people will see what it's all about, and you'll have a revolution. So you have to get a cover-up, camouflage, call it what you like. That's where it's running. Okay. Now, what has happened is that today, if you now are heading for an election in the summer or sooner, if you take the number of people living by some kind of income they create on their own in a private company, not paid by the government, it is 38%. Well, 62% get it from government, or, of course, their own accumulated pension, but they got it from government as well. And when you're old and gray, and I'm going to be soon, if I'm still living when I've done this speech, then now my son is sitting somewhere, he might be going for my cash, but I don't hope so. But then you see, who holds the upper hand? Well, it has become the people who get the money. Actually, this story was identified a long time ago. So in 1830, Tocqueville, but poor show. Now, I have to make my final remarks. What can you do? You have to realize it's all run by government. This has become a religion, and perhaps you don't even see it. Wake up, find a way, get your own life sustainable, make a job on your own, make real money on your own, even if it's nothing but chocolate as you do in your kitchen. And then we will handle, if you don't do it, you will end as Russia in 1990. Okay? Thank you, and God bless you.